welcome to Chats with Changemakers, the Northeast podcast for people making the world a better place. Hi, and welcome to Chats with Changemakers. I'm your host, Kate Duffy, and in this episode, I interviewed Shane Knox from Not A Statistic Northeast CIC. So Shane has been registered as a social enterprise since November 2023 and has actually been really successful in attracting grant funding to run his peer-to-peer support networks across the Northeast. His aim is to reduce social isolation in a way that is promoting mental health and well-being and just helping anyone who isn't really feeling their best self at this time. So here's my interview with Shane. Hi everyone, and today I am talking to Shane Knox from Not A Statistic Northeast CIC. So welcome Shane, really lovely to be speaking to you today.
Thanks for having me on, yeah, brilliant.
So Shane, I know we've been having a little bit of a chat before we've hit record, but tell me a little bit about Not A Statistic. Where did this idea come from?
Yeah, so it kind of came from my own experiences. So as a CIC, we run peer-to-peer support groups. So basically groups in the evening for people to come along and have a chat. So we've been doing that for nearly 2 years. Out at the Beacon of Light in Sunderland, and we since January in the Old Rectory as well. So we have 2 a week. Meeting on a Tuesday at the Old Rectory and a Thursday in Sunderland. So for me, I went back to work after being off for quite a long period with no mental health. And when I went back to work, I realised I couldn't go to the groups and stuff during the day that I used to go to, like Sunderland Mind and stuff. And I was just like, where'd I go? So eventually I went to Andy Man Club. But a bit of context to this, I'm a mental health support worker as well in my day job. So it took me 2 years to go there. And even though I was signposting people there pretty much constantly. So I went and then heard about Space Northeast, which James Valdez's one, and went there as well. And then as I was there, I was like, do you know what? I could be doing this as well. I could be running something. And I'd heard conversations of people saying, oh, I wish there was somewhere for my wife to go to. Like I'd come in our handyman and stuff, and there'd always be someone that'd say, oh, I wish there was somewhere like this for my missus. And I was like, why isn't there? And I was kind of like, I don't really get it. And then so yeah, set up basically in August 23. Started the pilots of the group, called them pilots because we had a bit of a conflict of interest issue. My current employer. So yeah, so I had to stop for a little bit, but and then we started back up again. We're at 55 sessions now.
Oh, okay.
So in last year, so the end of 23 and 24, we did 340 hours of support for free. So our model is basically that we have 3 to 10 sessions and we try and get funding to cover it. So we've been quite lucky with people like the Barbara Foundation, Ballinger. I met with Andrew Ballinger a couple of months ago. Have a chat with him. He's been really fantastic, really supportive, even though we're not in their core scheme of things because we're open to everyone. So people like Ballinger, they're open between 0 to 19 and 65 and above. So we're completely outside their window, really. So they basically said to me, "Oh, could you do an unrestricted grant for £1,000?" And I was like, "All right." And so let's have a conversation.
Yeah, that'll do.
So we did, and then so they gave us the £1,000, and basically said, "Do what you want with it." And they're open. And next year, the conversation is that they basically said to me, they were really happy with what you're doing. We can have the same conversation next year. You get another £1,000, or you can engage beast mode, and we'll give you beast money. And
Can I just stop you there for a second, Shane? Because one of the things that we always say in our training is that unrestricted funding is like hen's teeth to social entrepreneurs. Like it just is impossible to get. So the fact that you have managed to get, by the sounds of it, a repeated unrestricted donation of £1,000 is just mind-blowing. That's really well done. And for everyone else, take notes. So that was the Ballinger Trust, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they've just released, actually, they're doing micro schemes at the minute. So they're doing £500 to £1,000.
Nice.
I think they're planning on doing 10. So they're probably gone already. I'm going to apologise in advance. But the Barbara Foundation as well, they're dead simple. When you literally write them a letter, actual letter, you print it out, post it, and I got a response within 2 months, and they sent me a cheque for £1,500, unrestricted.
I need you to come do some fundraising for me at Junction Point.
Well, that's it. I'm already tied up. I'm getting called into something else as well. But yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, no, so I think for me it was like very much I was focusing on things like a lot of time with like Gen 2's Aspire fund and stuff, and
Okay.
their applications they could take a lot of time.
Hmm.
For £500, it's not really worth it.
Hmm.
Saying that though, on Friday I'm going to a panel to have a conversation with them because this is the second time I've gone for them. So I'm not holding out much hope I'm going to get any money out of them, but I'm going to go along and have the conversation. At least they're inviting me in this time. Um, and I think that for me, but then Awards for All was where I recently got my funding.
Yeah.
So we're really lucky in that. Really,
Shane,
really easy application.
can I take you back to the beginning of our conversation a
Yeah.
little bit? So you've mentioned that this is peer-to-peer support, and you've kind of said that this is everyone. So who is your ideal client that you're wanting to work with?
Anyone,
Anyone who is experiencing mental health challenges or
anyone who's feeling a
anxiety
bit
or
lonely.
okay.
We started off being mental health, and really very much did. We did think that it was, and we stayed away from the word a little bit because
Mhm.
to stay away from the conflict. But it sums down to mostly that people come and they'll have an issue going on, like they might have broken up with a partner, they might have family issues, they might be having issues at work.
Mhm.
Like it all stems down to there's all things that we tend to isolate ourselves back down. And then so it became a lot, it was about social isolation and
Mhm.
very much that people have isolated themselves off and I isolate myself off. And I think it's that it's building a bit of community. That's what we're doing, essentially. Um, I was joking on because I was trying to find a way to get Highland cows on our hoodies. Because Leanne, one of our directors, loves them. And I was joking on. I was like, well, we could put, it's not a herd, it's a community.
Yeah.
And like, and like joking on, just like little things like that to just
Yeah.
try and get some way of doing it. But then I
Mhm.
think it's very much for us, it's getting the message across that we are there for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not even postcode based, so we've recently changed in our CIC 14 to include that it's open to visitors to the Northeast as well. So people are
Oh,
staying in
interesting.
hotels and stuff like that. So that's the main thing of it because our groups are there weekly and you can come along for once and then not come again. Or
Mhm.
some people have been coming for well over a year. And to be perfectly honest, it's like a little family sometimes. It's really weird. But yeah,
So
no, it's good.
So what's behind the name then? So not a statistic northeast. What's that got to do with loneliness?
Yeah, so not a statistic has absolutely nothing to do with loneliness. For me, it was very much a term that I used to shout at myself when I was driving down the A19. 'Cause I used to work as a manufacturing engineer down in Stockton, and so I'd be driving down there at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be really suicidal and screaming at myself, "You're not a statistic." And it's very much from that I firmly believe you don't have to be that sort of statistic. You could be another type of statistic as someone who's a survivor. Um, so for me, it was about the suicide prevention sort of thing. Is the
Interesting.
reason the name. But now it's turning into all sorts. Like we've got coasters on the way, which are going to be have not a coaster on them. Um, so I think we're going down that line. We're definitely tongue in cheek. We're going to be doing that sort of thing. But yeah, no,
That's amazing.
I
And
think it is. I think it's just giving people a space to go. I think yeah.
mhm. And you mentioned, Shane, before we started talking that sorry, before we started recording that as an organization, you've kind of gone through this process where you've gone from piloting your ideas, you've adjusted them, you've tweaked them, and this has mainly been through the support of grant funding. But you're at a bit of a pivot point now in terms of, I love the fact that you said that you've got the social aspect covered, but the enterprise
Oh,
bit
definitely.
is now where you need to be focusing your attention. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no. So I think it's over the past like year and a bit or so, I've had lots of conversations with people about um how much your income is actually from enterprise. Um, and for us, very little of it is.
Mhm.
I was saying about it be monetizing the amount of what the cost it is for someone to attend our session, essentially, which I don't like doing. I think it just needs to be there, just needs a room. Doesn't matter if it's one person or 50. Um, but the thing I've got now is that we're very much we have got the social bit down, the enterprise bit we haven't. So that is what we're trying to develop at the minute is the bit where we've got a bit of money coming in through the back door and keep it on going with the front because at the minute the funding very much is paying for the next sessions.
Mhm.
So that's what I didn't say at the start. We've got two at the minute. We're going to be aiming at five by the end of the year. So it's definitely busy, busy, busy. But I
Mhm.
think there'll be
And
stuff that it wasn't.
what process are you going through to identify what the income generating opportunities are for you, because I can imagine, like you said, you want it to be free to the participants who come. You don't want it to be
Yeah.
that it's a ticketed cost. So what other options are there in terms of generating income for you?
I think I think it really is. So I'm branching out into things like helping people with things that I've done, like our branding and websites and social media and just basically anything like odds and sods really.
Hmm.
Just helping our people if they're struggling with something to do with the business, just come and have a chat and we'll see if we can find our way. If I can't, I know plenty of people who can help you
Hmm.
um get along. I think it is like there's one lad I'm speaking to next week. Very much he's got his social media and his branding down by the looks of it. It's just he's been out of the game for a while.
Hmm.
So I literally said to him, all we need to do, mate, is make you a LinkedIn profile. He's aiming business to business. And so like, I think like you need to make you a LinkedIn profile, get you on there, understand when to post and what to post, and away it goes.
Amazing.
Um, I think it is that, and I think for me, I think little game changers like that.
Hmm.
Um, like LinkedIn was something that Ant McDermott from the Bit had told me about, and
Hmm.
he said make sure you get on LinkedIn and stuff. And we do get like I mainly use Facebook and LinkedIn now,
Hmm.
for our content, because it seems to be where we get the most interactions, the most
Yeah.
people coming.
Social media
Um,
is definitely where it's at the moment, isn't it?
It is, and then it's I heard Lucy Batley speak
Mhm.
a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago actually, in an event, and she was talking about ChatGPT, and it's something I've never used. And so very much if you learn how to program ChatGPT with what you want, so you program it with your brand's voice,
Mhm.
essentially, then I can go on ChatGPT now and type in Tuesday morning post, and it'll do it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I'll copy and paste it, and then that's a good hour of me messing about, like you typing it into one place, copying it across, and then like messing around. So save myself hours a week just by
Mhm.
using ChatGPT, and I think
Mhm.
I don't have to pay a penny for it. I think it's a crazy thing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
So
it provides a lot, so it's very personal.
all of those services that you're talking about there are things that aren't necessarily related to the social impact that you're wanting to achieve. And I think this is something that we forget as a sector, that for social enterprises, the way that they generate their income doesn't have to be anything to do with the good that they're trying to do. It's a bit different with
Yeah,
charities. They can do that, but there's sort of tax implications and
yeah,
red tape that needs to be got through. But for kicks, this is, I think, one of the beauties of that legal structure, that means that you can pause, have a think about what you as an individual are really good at. And I love this almost scattergun idea of it being odds and sods, as you say, trying different bits and bobs that are utilizing your strengths as a founder to bring in income.
yeah. And I think it is that, and I think it is bringing along people along with me. So it's like my partner, she works in funding planning for college.
Mhm.
So very much I want to bring her into the funding side of things. I
Nice.
talked to her, she's the funding director. But I was pull her leg because she hasn't raised a penny.
Mhm.
Um, but then I think it is very much because she hasn't got the time at the minute. But if we can find a way to make an income and have a salary for her where she could step away a little bit and come and do this, I think it'd be a lot of impact and it'd be valuable to us
Mhm.
as a business. So I think it is that. I think it is stemming down that now. Well, I am trying to make it into a business
Mhm.
over just being a support group, which was for a while because it was one, but now we're two, and it will be five before I know it. And
Mhm.
but I think that is it. I think where when it comes to our sessions and our where we're going, we're aiming more for being within kicks. So people who have got buildings and things, and people who are socially minded.
Mhm.
So the money's going back into the sector. So much as we're using funding, the money's going into the sector opposed to going out.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it is that because we are really lucky in the Beacon because we're funded by the foundation I like to be in there. And for the next couple of years, that'll wash
Oh,
up. But
brilliant.
then it is like, but I'm already in talks with Zoe from Weights and Cakes that I want to get involved with Zoe because my kids go to her sessions.
Mhm.
So I think it is very much that we align and our values match, and I want to make sure that Not Statistic is somewhere around there.
Amazing.
So I think it's that.
So, Shane, I'm wondering then, in your journey so far, if there is a key lesson that you've learned or a piece of advice that you would share to anyone else who is maybe on the road to either working in the mental health sphere or social isolation or even just running a kick. what advice you would give to those people based on your wealth of experience so far?
Don't always listen to everyone's advice because everyone's
Okay.
advice may not be right. And I think for me, when I first started out, because I was really lucky, I did a 12-week course with the BIC, like
Mhm.
a free course for veterans. And we were going through that and we're going down working out who our target audience was and stuff. And all the way through that, it was getting drilled at me that, like, say, drilled. They were trying to help me, and the fact that making sure I was making my target audience smaller so I could make an impact. But
Mhm.
for me, my target audience is everyone,
Mhm.
and unashamedly is that. I don't want to put any barriers in place. I don't want to be that you can't come if you're not a man. You can't come if you're a woman. You can't come if you support Rangers. Um, I don't want it to be any barriers. I want it to
Yeah.
be that it's an inclusive place. And I think that, but then that being said, if you have got a specific like who you're looking at, have a
Mhm.
look outside of that, at either side of it, and just see if there's another group that you could be potentially helping. But then, because funders are pretty fickle about what they're saying they're going to fund, they might be that you're not actually funding exactly what they want. Like you might not be doing exactly what you want, but you might be just
Mhm.
on the side of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then that's where conversations like Andrew Ballinger and stuff came up. And to go from, I had a conversation with someone else, um, an advisor from somewhere had said that Ballinger would never fund me. And
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
I went and had a chat with Ballinger. Funnily enough, they'd given me an interview with that person that day, and I went and had a chat with him. And 2 months later, I was on a Teams call, and he's giving me £1,000.
Yeah.
So I think it's you need to be careful about whose advice you listen to. I
Yeah,
think
I would completely
definitely,
agree. And I think some of that is this sector is massive, for advisors, including our advisors at Junction Point, um, there's a lot to keep up with all of the time. And as you say, the funders are quite fickle. They'll put out one lot of eligibility criteria, but then they'll make an exception. Um,
yeah,
so it really is tricky. Just standing up for the advisors there. However, I completely agree
yeah, no,
with you. I think
like
that there is a bit of a tendency that people will go to an advisor because they think they're the expert, which in a topic they may be the expert, but in your business you are absolutely the expert and you're in the driving seat. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you. That is a really, really big piece of advice to give people, that keep in the driving seat, pick who you're listening to for
yeah, and
sure.
I think it is, and like I think it is okay to listen to them. I suppose that
Mhm.
they're what they're saying, but then if I'd listened to all the advice I've been given, I'd probably be a CIO by now, and that's not the right move for us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that isn't the right move for us yet.
Mhm.
That's a lot of additional work in the background that I'm not getting paid for,
Yeah.
and that it's going to be a massive thing. Whereas staying as a kick right now means that we can be flexible and move around and do what we need to do.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the reasons I do like being a kick is it leaves us flexible and being
Yeah.
able to run around people like your Andy's man clubs and stuff and kind of go, whoa, I'm here, and kind of like and skirt away and take some of the funding away from them. So I think that's what I quite like doing at the minute is flirting with that. You'll see in some of our stuff that's coming out more recently. It's got some little edgier bits towards charities on there, but
Okay.
it's not us. It's basically saying like we're there. Andy's man club essentially they're there for Andy, whereas we're saying we're there for Andy, his mom, his sister, his brother, and his mates. So it's kind of we're
Interesting.
saying we're there for
A different
everybody.
audience, not
Uh,
competitor, a
yeah,
different audience.
no, that's it. We're definitely not competitors.
Yeah.
Um, the lads from the Beacon of Light are giving me massive amounts of support. Like George, I'm meeting. He's an ex-facilitator from there.
Mhm.
So I think it's very much that was one of the reasons it made it easy for me to set up in the Beacon of Light was the support I got from Andy's Man Club and from
Mhm.
James at Space. Like
Mhm.
there was never a competitor edge to it at all. It was always that we were collaborating, and it was
Yeah.
always that they were always giving me good advice. You know what I mean? And like not that long back, maybe like 8, 9 months ago, when my mental health was taking a bit of a turn,
Mhm.
James told me to stop, and he said, look, just pause the group until you're right. And I paused it.
Yeah.
Like I listened to him and I paused it, and it was the best thing I did. Paused it, but then we restarted and we're good. I think it's I think it is that sometimes it's getting people in your corner that you trust,
100%.
which
And
is easier said than done. But then I think it's if you go enough network and things like I do, then you'll find
Mhm.
some.
It is, and it's finding people that have trodden the same path, isn't it? That it isn't just goodwill and lovely, rainbows and good intentions. It's someone that knows how hard this is, and
Oh yeah,
they've been there themselves, so it's
it
coming
goes that
from
it goes
a
both
solid
ways as
place.
well because well, probably knows James is expecting a kid in June, so on a Wednesday he normally facilitates his session, but I'm going to be facilitating his session.
Mhm,
So I'm going to take over from him while he's off with the volunteers that he has. So then it's making sure that people are still going to get the same service, and I
mhm.
think it's that it's not that. I mean, I'm not. But apologies, the fire alarm going off. Don't know what's up with that.
Oh, we
But
can't hear it, so it's
oh,
all
it's all
right.
right then. My
This
headphones are
must be a
working. That's all
quiet
right.
one.
No, it was definitely not quiet. Scared me that. Yeah, no. So yeah, it's not one-sided, and it's like
Mhm.
that. I tell him about funding opportunities and stuff, and I pass on
Brilliant.
the word and bring them along to social events and stuff that I can. Or if James can't make it, I'll just pick his banner up and have it next to mine. I think it's very much it's because as much as we provide a like two groups a week now, that's
Mhm,
only two groups a night in a week, and so that for me, it's like signpost everywhere.
mhm.
So if there's anybody that has something that you're struggling to get anyone to come to, like let me know and I'll push it and like and get people to go. I think that's
Amazing.
one of the things that I do within the NHS as well is very much signposting to local
Mhm.
services. So um, I
So,
think there's
Shane,
that.
I'm going to pull our conversation to a conclusion here, but I want to ask you one last question before we do, and that
Yeah.
is, where do you see Not a Statistic going? So, if we fast forward 10 years, what is the beautiful mission that we're heading towards? What is it going to look like in 10 years' time?
Yeah, so I think in 10 years' time, probably will be a charity. Probably will have 20 sessions
Hmm.
across the Northeast, probably. I don't want to go any bigger than that, but it'll be up to the charity by then. Um, if anything, there might be a little bit of an exit from me
Hmm.
as being in charge.
Hmm.
Might still have a managing role, but I'll let the board decide on that. And there will be an offshoot of Not a Statistic. I don't quite know what it's going to be called yet, but that's very much going to include my children because they're both neurodiverse like me.
Hmm.
And they've made very clear that they want to work with me, and they have
Oh,
for years.
amazing.
And so I'll be their 10 now. But it's very much that I'm going to be building a business that they can do whatever they want and can um, live their best lives like I
I
wanted
love that.
them to do. So I think it's legacy. That's what I'm going for.
Hmm.
So I wrote down on Friday is freedom and legacy. So that's what kind of what we're going for now, and
Perfect.
creating spaces in communities.
I love that. And what a wonderful, wonderful note to end on. So, Shane, good luck with all of this. I think it sounds absolutely amazing. We're going to share all of your links so people can connect with you. But thank you ever so much for your time.
No,
And
thank you.
we look forward to seeing what happens over the next 10 years.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much.
I think that Shane's story follows a similar path to a lot of purpose-led organizations. Social enterprises in particular, I think, find it easier to attract funding at the startup point, and then it starts to fizzle off, or it becomes just too much of a burden on time of sitting down, writing applications and waiting to hear whether or not they're successful, that people then really start to consider their income generating model. Um, I really think that regardless of your legal structure, this is a really powerful way to fund your mission. It means that you can be agile, you can be responsive. If it's your money and the only rule is that you spend it on your mission, all of a sudden there's a whole creative space that you can move into to really provide what's needed rather than what you can get the money for and potentially have to bend and tweak your approach to match what funders need. I think that Shane has been really, really fortunate to be able to attract unrestricted funding. I can't tell you how difficult that is for social enterprises. So this is a really important thing to get across, that if you want your own unrestricted funding, income generation is a really powerful way of doing that. Um, You can also leverage your grants. So if, for example, you've got a grant to deliver a training program out in the community, one of the things that you could do is then use that time that you're using to develop that training program to create something that's maybe slightly different or to a slightly different audience that then you could sell commercially. So all that development time, which otherwise no one's going to pay you for, can be covered within that grant program. So it's really thinking about any grants that you get in, thinking about, well, what does sustainability look like beyond this? I really love the idea that for Shane, he has thought about using his wider skill set and going completely in a different direction to the mission of the organization. So thinking about his technology skills and marketing in order to generate that income. So kind of going for the low-lying fruit. This is stuff I know, this is stuff I can do really easily, and there's a market for it, rather than thinking, okay, how can I change what my social mission is around peer networking to be a commercially viable thing? I think that's a really powerful way of doing that. So well done, Shane. Shane has got big ambitions for his social venture. So if you're looking for marketing support, you know where to go. But equally, if you're interested in maybe hosting one of these groups or even volunteering as a group leader, then please make sure that you're connecting with him today. But that's all for today. So don't forget to subscribe to Chats with Changemakers to be notified of more brilliant interviews like this one. But until next time, catch you later. Thank you for joining today's chat. If you'd like to be featured on the next series, please email hello@junctionpoint.co.uk. Speak to you soon.